for the walkout for the other thing?
Well, the gun one's already passed, so we'll do the abortion one, unless we want to talk about
I
the
don't
gun too.
know much about. I know about.
I know
that.
of it. I've seen it like posted, and I don't know the actual. I don't think.
Details.
know if it's an actual walk.
Do you want to talk about like the old
I don't think it
walkout?
was
Like,
like
I don't know why they're doing
Well,
it
I think
because
it was a
abortion is a
walkout. I think it was a
long
march.
gone battle,
Yeah, it's
in my
like,
opinion. I mean,
See, this is a podcast.
that
We're
if
saying
you don't
our
want to get an
opinions on it.
abortion, don't get an abortion.
Yeah,
I just think it's the choice of the
I think it's
woman.
right. Like, if you want to, you want to.
It's no
And at that point-
say,
It
but
really
the
is.
woman
And at that point, it's not even about the woman. It's about legally she's allowed to do it.
Exactly. and it
Therefore,
shouldn't
it's not
just
your
change
concern.
because people are against it. People are against everything.
Because a few teens want to walk. That was a good podcast. Glad we're done here.
I think the whole reason why people are like pro-life walking out is because
Yeah, it's recording.
because
Yeah.
of the gun walkout. Because like since all these liberals are doing this, we're gonna do this to show them.
Okay. I never actually heard of it being a walkout. I heard it being a march, like an actual they're going on like days where there aren't any so it's basically going on weekends and stuff and marching in DC, but not
Oh.
actually walking out of
I thought it was.
April 11th.
maybe some are maybe some are walking out of schools and stuff. From all I've seen, the actual organized people, they weren't. It was just a
I mean,
standard
it's an actual
march.
movement.
Mhm.
Like people actually stand outside of clinics and go do their thing. Like have signs saying that you're killing the baby, blah 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 blah. It's
Yeah.
Standard protesting.
Got your
Because they
facts,
all-
so you can protest.
No, because the problem with protests in general is that they always have this whole one course mind kind of thing. They don't actually take into account a bunch of other things. It's basically protests aren't protests. They're more like just gathering a bunch of people who all think the same, and they all tell everyone they think the same.
Yeah, that's what a protest is. You're trying to get your view. You're protesting your view.
No, it's just gathering people who they all think the same. Okay, so they just gather, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Even when it's they'll be protesting, but there's nothing really comes of it or anything like that. It doesn't really do anything, unless it's bigger stuff, or certain things
I feel like if
Back
you got
when
enough
Vietnam
people, you
and
could
stuff.
probably change it.
Well, yeah.
But I don't think there's enough people with this.
Especially
but then-
since the walkout, whatever they're planning for the pro-life, it was not. It's a response to what people have been doing against gun violence, and I think that they're taking the same approach that liberal people are on the issue. They're saying they walked out for gun violence, we'll walk out for abortion, and it's just kind of they're taking something they believe in and throwing the same way about it, and it's I don't know how official it's going to be. I'm not 100% sure about the whole situation in general, but I think that the walkout, there was press, there was all this, we had faculty support to do it, not necessarily the political aspect, but the faculty, they were out there, they oversaw what the walkout was, just for safety precautions, and I think that the one at our school especially was going about the right way. We contacted our local newspapers, reporting agencies, whatever it may be. We contacted our faculty, we let our principals know, and then we walked out, and there was a big circle of faculty around us to ensure everybody's safety. Our resource officer was out there. There was cameras, there was reporters, and it was definitely effective, I think, because of those reasons. We had this support to do it, and we had press, and it was publicized, and people saw it, not just here, but across the nation.
Yeah. Speaking your voice, it can really do stuff. And especially if you have the faculty was wanting us, whether they agreed with us or not. I feel like most of them probably did agree with what we were doing because, you don't have to help if you don't want to because, your views. But they were trying to push you to, speak because, speaking your views, freedom of speech. It's good. I think it's cool.
a lot of like this kind of stuff though. At least when it was like really big at the moment, when it was like everywhere. There were people like taking advantage of that by basically trying, instead of like actually believing in the cause, they're more like trying to get their like 5 minutes of fame and stuff. They're saying, "Oh yeah, I believe this too. So look at me, cameras, whatever."
Yeah, a lot of people hop from topics just because they're what's hot right now. So they'll be
Bandwagon.
like, "Oh,
Yeah, bandwagon.
that's cool. I'm gonna post about that on the internet," and then it
follow
becomes irrelevant, but it's still a thing. But they don't know that, so they stop caring and then move on to the next topic. And it's kind of pointless to just move on and not spread something until it happens.
Kind of makes sense. So people are like sheep. That's just how it's been. We follow stuff, and if you have a leader, you'll follow them. Especially if you don't know much about any topics, you find somebody, you pretty much believe them. Either you're too lazy to do the research yourself, or
It's the whole like group mentality thing, but how is it? It's almost like a way of controlling other people's intelligence, which is like, okay, let's say you have like a cause, right? And there's all these specific like details and everything for it, but there's some that just happen to agree with big groups of other people, right? Make it relatable or whatever. If you like focus on making those things like really big parts, even if they're not like the main focus of the cause, then you can get tons of people to follow your cause, even though they're only following the small things that agree with them. And that's why like
I think people follow topics because it becomes big. I don't quite understand what you're saying, to be honest. I'm like, because like I understood in the beginning and then you kind of started rambling off and I kind of got lost.
I'm saying like I'm not saying like, oh yeah, the only reason people follow things is because certain parts of it agree with them, right? But I'm saying like some people don't even know what they're following, but they only follow it just because like part of it like agrees with their thing.
He's saying like there are Democratic people now, there are Republican people now who have been Republican or Democrats for 30 years because 30 years ago they agreed with the agenda of that party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Because you could go up to a door and say, I'm supporting this political candidate. Could you also support them? No, I will not support them because I'm a Republican. No, I will support them. Yes, I will support them because I'm a Democrat. Even though, how do you know what they represent?
I mean, like, you're not either a full Republican or a full Democrat. Like, most of the people, like regular civilians, are pretty much in between.
Yeah.
You just have maybe a few more views on the other side than the other.
Yeah.
But then you still identify yourself sometimes extremely hard on the other side and will completely oppose all the other views, even though they might be what you agree with.
I've never like identified myself with either one. I just don't see the point because I don't fully agree with most Democrats, but I mostly don't agree with Republicans,
Yeah.
but I have more Democratic viewpoints than Republicans, but it's just like I don't see the point. I'm not a huge fan of politics, but there are some subjects that I will go out and maybe walk for a protest just because I think strongly of those subjects, not because it's political, just because it's what I think's right.
I don't think it should be like, oh, I'm walking for the Democrat Party, I'm walking for this. I feel like it should be walking for your view, and it shouldn't be taken by either party. Like,
It's just
people wanting to take that.
People separate them.
Yeah.
People are
They
like,
sh- they
oh,
should.
if you're pro-life, you're automatically a Republican.
Yeah.
If you're pro-choice, you're automatically a Democrat. But
Or if you're pro-life, you support the use of guns. If you're pro-choice, you support the ban on guns. And I think another issue that comes in is that people, especially like those who don't understand what is being argued against, is that the fight against gun violence is not necessarily, I'm sure there are people, but a ban on all assault, right? Ban on all firearms. It is there are intelligent and different ways to go about it, such as banning attachments like bump stocks or extended magazines. And there's definitely things that we can do to prevent, I think, gun violence, especially in the mass way that has been like sweeping across the nation. But and I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, at least for like the next few like decades, guns aren't going to be banned. Like, don't worry.
It's not just gonna change.
Another thing is like people just, because with the whole like gun thing, or well, things in general, there's a lot of like circumstance kind of stuff. So like what happened in Maryland, which was like, oh, someone basically tried to do a school shooting, but well, it sounds kind of like bad saying, oh, it wasn't as bad as like what happened in Florida, just because like it wasn't as many casualties or anything. It sounds bad saying it, but what I'm saying is that it was stopped because the officer in the school managed to stop the gunman, or the shooter, and that's what like stopped it from being worse than it could have been. While in Florida, like circumstances were different, where the officer in the school for some reason left the building when the shooting started, which kind of is why people think, oh, it was a lot worse than what it could have been if they would have stayed in there.
Yeah, but you also have to take into account the different circumstances, because the weaponry that each shooter was using was completely different. And I'm not trying to discredit whatever happened, but like the student resource officer in Maryland did his job, and I think he should be commended for that. And what he prevented could have been like great tragedy. And I'm not trying to like let off whatever this resource officer in Florida may have done or not done, or because I'm not going to pretend like I know the entire situation and pretend like I know what was going on in the man's mind. But I think the biggest topic from the Florida shooting to talk about is the bump stock, which is an attachment that allows a semi-automatic rifle to be fired at a fully automatic rate. The stock is on a pivot, and the recoil of the weapon allows for the trigger, your finger to rapidly hit the trigger. And that's definitely, personally, I don't see a need or the desire to have an attachment like that.
No.
It was the same attachment that was used in the Las Vegas incident. That's what he had on a lot of the rifles that were in the hotel room.
Yep. And another topic is the extended magazine that most civilians, every civilian, doesn't need to fire 40 consecutive rounds into a target. And I mean, I agree with that too. I think that with the ban of extended magazines, or extended magazines being harder to obtain, if a shooter or an intruder does not have the access to those, that more reloading time, more downtime allows for less shots, allows for more time for officers or anybody to react or stop it, if need be.
There's people who like say things like, oh, well, I want to like use this at like a shooting range or whatever. It's like, but you could have it like an on-site kind of thing, as in you can go to the shooting range and they
pay your deposit. He'll give you the whatever you want,
and then you like kind of like renting the attachments just to use in the shooting range. So then you don't have a bunch of people owning the attachments, but they can still use them like in the shooting range.
Yeah, I guess my point of view on that is like, if you ban all that stuff and you take it away, some people will still like, have some because, criminals find a way to get stuff. But like a lot of the shootings that make these news, like the news, schools and then the LA thing, they were heavily populated and all in one area. So the bump stock, it makes accuracy a little, worsens the accuracy. It makes the fire rate better. So you don't really need accuracy when everyone's piled in one area.
Mm-hmm.
So you just need fire rate. So it's kind of like there should have been more security. Like, I'm not saying, put more security in school, but I'm just saying, like,
But that could
be
help.
careful. Like, it could help, but, like, I'm just saying, like, just be careful. You should, like, know what you're getting into, especially nowadays. People are getting worse. Weapons are becoming, stronger. And I do agree, like, we probably don't need, as civilians, we probably don't need those attachments, but, if the enemy has them, you might be like, I should have it too, defend myself with. And that, it makes a good point, but it's just like, if you're going into a large area to party, you should be careful. The school thing, it's kind of like you have to go to school, but you should feel safe at school. So the officers should probably be a little bit better equipped or some of that. Maybe a few more officers. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people don't like us banning fully automatic assault rifles, bump stocks, extended magazines. That is not a violation of the Second Amendment, in my opinion, because if you compare it to the First Amendment, for example, everybody enjoys the First Amendment. You can practice what you want. You can say what you want. You can print what you want. But that doesn't mean you can libel or slander somebody and bring them down, just the same as the Second Amendment. I've shot rifles before. It's a fun hobby to practice. It's a very skillful hobby. But that doesn't mean I should be able to fire 40 rounds straight into a target 50 yards, 100 yards down the range.
Well, thank you for tuning into our podcast. This has been the Blue Express team. If you have any topics you would like us to talk about, leave it in the comments. If not, we'll just look for another topic. Thanks for watching or listening.